Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 16 millimeter Film Crew first annual award show episode.
Just for a caveat, if you haven't seen a lot of your favorite actors or favorite movies, cutoff point for our selections for this was Thanksgiving.
Best leading performances. We have Kelvin Harrison Jr., Cillian Murphy, Margot Robbie, Kaylee Spinney, Vanessa Kirby, Lily Gladstone, and Barry Keoghan.
His role in Chevalier, as like we said, carrying the picture. His performance was amazing. He's playing a man who's discovering who he is as a black man in France who is they're entering the beginning of the French Revolution. Him finding his cultural identity, transitioning from an arrogant man to someone who has less pride but understands their role in society. So for me, I really enjoyed witnessing Kelvin's evolution as an actor and his performance in this picture.
Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer. This, again, an obvious pick, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Nolan wrote the script in first person. So, this movie is Oppenheimer's movie. There's a lot of layers to this character. And I think that Cillian Murphy, who has worked with Chris Nolan for I don't know how many years now, he's been in so many of his projects. He hasn't been a lead until this film, but I think it's kind of perfect. And I think I was talking about this a little bit earlier with Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro. When you have a partnership with someone where you've worked with them for so long, there's like a shorthand and there's like a trust that I think is built between these two people where you can do things that like no one else can do. Everything is in Cillian's eyes. You feel everything. You're with him the entire almost, I don't know, 2 hour and 40-minute run or something. It's a lot to carry. He did it beautifully. He deserves all the things.
Margot Robbie, I mean, we've seen her career as it's gotten better and bigger and stuff. She brings a lot of life and a lot of levity to a concept and idea of a doll actually understanding what it is to be a woman in a modern society. On a level that didn't really expect from Margot Robbie. There's a lot of subtlety and emotional and humor, and Barbie isn't. You can't really put it in one specific category. There's a lot of stuff. There's musicals. There's comedy. There's a lot of drama. A lot of serious stuff. And Margot, like unexpectedly, was able to flow perfectly through all those different genres in this movie perfectly. And her fashion was on point.
Got it for that. It's about the fashion. Kaylee Spinney for Priscilla. I haven't seen her in anything until this, and I thought she did an amazing job, mainly because there wasn't a lot of dialogue in this. So everything it had to be expressed through body language and through facial expressions. And I think she brought a lot of empathy to the character of Priscilla, but also strength. I don't know if Priscilla in real life views herself as a victim. I'm not sure about that, but I don't think that Kaylee played her as one. I think she played her as a person who was just like very in love and kind of swept up into this superstar's life. And then found her voice and found her freedom. And I think that that's the perfect way to tell that kind of story. I thought she did an amazing job, in carrying that entire film.
Vanessa Kirby, she does play like a really good villain, somebody who is sneaky and conniving in a way, and kind of using her station to get things the way she wants. And she honestly always knocks out the park.
Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon. I talked about her in our review of the film. She is phenomenal. She does so much and she doesn't do a lot at the same time. She's not giving you like big emotions all of the time. And like seeing this and also seeing certain women, she's just an actress who I don't know, I'm obsessed with her. I don't know what it is. I just feel like I don't know the intelligence to really like know how to pick your moments in films where the character of Molly is going through so much tragedy in her life and she's like holding it in and it's like you're waiting for the expression. You're waiting for the catharsis and then you finally get it. Like And when you get it, you really get it. Like she really delivers on those emotional moments. She is such a powerful performer. Yeah, she's an icon, a legend. She is the moment.
Barry Keegan, Saltburn is his breakout performance carrying a movie. He plays like this weirdly neurotic, psychotic, crazy character, which, it's funny. Like, you think that's a perfect role for him. And he just knocks out the park. The way he's scheming and conniving, the end where he's just dancing butt naked, listening to Blood on the Dance Floor. I think I was expecting this, you were expecting this, after his really small role in Bands and Inisherin, because that performance there as well was really um heartbreaking and wrenching, and he's just carried on that success into his performance in Saltburn.
The winner for best leading performance goes to Lily Gladstone. I am really excited to see where her career goes next. I just think she's like a very, very special actor.
Best director. On this list, we have Christopher Nolan, Greta Gerwig, Martin Scorsese, Celine Song, and Todd Hayes.
Christopher Nolan, obviously, like he's like one of the best directors working on, I would say one of the best directors in like cinema history, period. What he's been able to do, just from like an engineering standpoint, there is no one else making movies like him at all. I think that this is again what might be his best film that he's ever done.
Greta Gerwig. Greta, as a director and an actress, embodies a lot of the stuff you really wanted to see in Barbie. So it's one of those perfect matches in front of the camera and story with Greta, the movie Barbie, and even Margot Robbie on the level. You really often in cinema get that perfect match of concept and director.
Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon. He's a director that other directors look up to. His career has obviously been so influential in terms of like how movies are made. And I feel like Killers, I know a lot of people are saying that like this is his best film. It was really impactful. And also just like how it was put together. I think he just did a really amazing job at weaving a lot of different things together because you have the tragedy that happened to the Osage people, you have the start of the FBI, you have these, you know, men who are just coming out of war and the things that they're trying to do, also like what happened to Black Wall Street. Like you had all of these different historical themes kind of running together, and the way that he was able to navigate that, it's a long movie, but I do think that he hit on a lot of those points and kind of investigated those things. I think it was just a really well done movie.
Our next director on this list is Celine Song. Past Lives was her directorial debut. This movie is perfect. Like, it doesn't really get much better than this movie for me.
Todd Haynes for May December. I think that this story was tricky, like in terms of like capturing the tone of it, because it's a very serious topic, but there is like something inherently like comedic in it too. It felt really grounded and rooted considering what we're talking about, and how kind of insane it can get a little bit in some portions. But I think there were a lot of choices that he made that made this story incredibly compelling and also stuck the tone of like what this needed to be very well. And I think that sometimes can be an issue in terms of directing and how stories are told. It's like capturing the tone and keeping that consistent. Sometimes people get it, sometimes people don't. And so I think Todd in this instance really did a good job with that. So the winner for Best Director goes to Celine Song.
Like, I think her with this movie is like very emblematic of, like we mentioned before, with a lot of the young talent as far as actors coming up in Hollywood. There are actually a lot of good young directors that are
Yes.
coming up as well. Also, to have her, go up against, Nolan, Greta, Martin, even Todd Hayes, this was one of those topics and categories that was really hard for us to
Yes.
come to an agreement, not just in picking the directors, but picking, of course, Celine to win, because a lot of directors and a lot of projects you mentioned, even if it's writing or whatever, a lot of the directors, honestly, this year really deserve to be in this category.
Okay, we have reached our last category, and it's the big one, Best Picture. So we have Oppenheimer, Chevalier, Past Lives, Killers of the Flower Moon, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
The first selection we got is Oppenheimer. What more can be said about this
Right.
movie? We got talked about Christopher Nolan. We've talked about the writing of this movie, how Chris kind of put this in the first perspective, and Chilean does an amazing job playing off that role. Talked about Chevalier, Calvin Harris Jr., his performance. Being a black man during the throes of the French Revolution, much better than what we saw in Napoleon. But how his character arc and he changes and stuff like that with past lives. Leading song, his debut picture. Talked about the performance of the actors, the writing, the emotional weight and courage and struggle in this picture. Curtis Flowers Moon, Lily Gladstone, amazing role. We talked about Robert, even at this age, still giving you breathtaking, monumental performances. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, with Phil and Miller's their writing style and how this movie is able to attract across generations, and how the art style, everything, the journey from Beyond Miles, but the relationship and evolution of Gwen and her father. You got Hobie Brown playing the cool black big brother. So much going on in this movie. This movie also builds upon and actually succeeds, which is very hard to do of the previous movie. But all these pictures, in their own way, shape, and form, no matter their genre, their medium, their message, they're all Best Picture nominee winners to me.
The winner of Best Picture goes to Oppenheimer, and no one is shocked.
No one is shocked.
No one is shocked. Oppenheimer for me is a movie that I have not stopped thinking about since I watched it. It had like such a profound effect on me, and mainly because I think it's something that is incredibly relevant to what is happening right now. I mean, like, if you look at the world and you just see like the destruction that's going on in this world, right? And then having a story about a person who is making a weapon of mass destruction, without kind of any morals about it, is just doing the work, and then later realizes what that means for this country, but also for every other person around the world. Like, it's very incredibly impactful, incredibly relevant, so well done. I mean, I think the fact that we're getting a historical drama that has these big scenes, I don't think he used very limited CGI, if he used it at all. I don't even think he did. I'm not sure.
He used a lot of practical effects in this movie.
Most of it was practical effects, like creating that the Trinity test, like the whole, technically everything was absolutely brilliant from that standpoint. All of the performances, I mean, what a cast, like stacked with some of the best actors working today. And then you have this amazing story that is not only true, but is incredibly timely and a really big warning for us right now. And then also plays with surrealism and some big ideas. I think most people came to it, one, because you either like loved Chris Nolan, or because of the whole Barbenheimer moment that we had this summer, which literally was like a cultural moment. It was such like a huge impact on the film industry as a whole. Like, it was just watching this in IMAX and just having one of those movies where you can have like a communal experience with everyone else, watching an original idea by one of the best filmmakers. It's just like, you don't get those moments every day, especially now. It's not. And I think that's one of the things that kind of carried this over for me, for being the Best Picture, is it wasn't just like a really good movie, it was like a culturally important moment.
This movie is one of those movies I'm happy that it's back in theaters, because with a lot of movies, Nolan is right. Nolan really designs movies to be seen in IMAX, that whole visual, but it never really hit me until watching this movie. Like, this is one of those movies that, like, we talk about, Godfather, Taxi Driver, all those movies as being historic and critical, like Hollywood masterpieces. Oppenheimer, to me, is on that level. Did you like that clip? Well, you can listen to the entire podcast, because the 16mm Film Crew podcast is available on all major podcast platforms.